Hi everyone, this is Dr. Crystal Lee of LA Concierge Psychologist. One of the parents in the group asked me to speak a bit about screen time use or electronics use and our kids, our teens and emerging adults. And I actually went to the research and did quite a bit of reading so I could give you some accurate information. And not just kind of what you hear or see in like blogs and things like that. So I wrote down some notes. So if I look down, that's just me looking at my notes. So I give you accurate information. So one of the interesting things that I read was from this great longitudinal study in the UK. And when I say longitudinal, that just means they actually tracked these kids from when they were younger all the way until they were older. So it's actually a rigorous kind of study. So I was quite impressed, and which is why I want to report on their findings. So they actually found that there was no association with TV watching, gaming, screen time use, and problems we usually consider associated with that. So hyperactivity, peer problems, social emotional problems. One thing that TV watching did predict was conduct problems. So kids being argumentative or not listening and following directions, that kind of thing, but only for 5 to 7-year-olds. So that effect actually dissipated as the kids got older, like in their teen years, which I thought was really interesting. Also, loneliness and depression, this is from another study, are actually what drive the use of internet use. So not the other way around. So we, sometimes hear about kids who use the internet are more likely to be depressed or whatnot. And there was actually a study that was done that kind of showed that it's the inverse. So it's actually the loneliness and the depression, the social emotional issues that are driving these teens to go to the internet and use it more. So it's almost like a coping mechanism, right? It's not what's actually causing the loneliness and depression. And I think that's a really important thing to remember. If you have a kid that's maybe overusing the internet or their cell phone or gaming, knowing that it's likely that's actually a symptom of something larger going on. And if you take these things away from them, that's actually kind of taking away their coping mechanism. So if you're going to take something away from them, like a coping mechanism, you need to replace it with something else that's helpful, or else it could actually worsen the depression and anxiety and those kind of mental health issues. And then another study that I read that I thought was really interesting basically confirms what we suspected, that cell phone use when you're hanging out with your friends and socializing actually does negatively impact your kind of relationship with that person or your conversation with that person. So the mere act of having the phone on the table or holding the phone, not even looking at it, can actually negatively impact your social interaction. So if you think about, just practically speaking, having dinner with your family, put those phones away. Don't keep them at the table. Even if they're not looking at the phone, just the mere presence of them being there can actually negatively impact family time. And then, of course, it also applies to your kids and when they're out with their friends. So even if they're not actually on their phone, but the phone is sitting on the table or it's being held in their hand, that can actually kind of negatively impact their relationship and the social communication going on. So those were some of the highlights from the research that I read, and I thought it was really interesting. Drop me a comment below. Let me know if anything was surprising to you or if you have any additional comments or questions. And thanks for watching. Bye.